everybody, and welcome back to my podcast, Esme's Country Life. And in today's episode, we have a midweek mini pod or podlet for you all, and we're going to be talking about how I used to do swimming as a hobby. I'm going to still do it today, but I mean swimming lessons, all that kind of stuff. Also have a major embarrassing story to talk about within this podcast. But anyway, before we begin, I just want to say a huge thank you to the sponsor of the podcast, Red Post. Red Post is an equestrian and country store based in the UK, and they also ship all over the world. And did you know that my little mini podlets come out on a Wednesday? And do you know what also happens on a Wednesday? It is Win It Wednesday over on the Red Post Instagram. So go and give them a follow, enter their competition, because you might win some amazing goodies. But anyway, let's get into today's podcast episode, because actually recently for our midweek mini pods, or recently I've been calling them podlets, so maybe podlets is going to be the new nickname that we're going to start calling them. I've been talking to you about all of the hobbies that I kind of did as a child or used to do, because obviously a lot of you that follow my channel know me through horse riding, but I've turned my hand to a few different things over the years, and obviously one of them is swimming. If you are a regular listener, you will know that I quite like going to the gym, like going for a swim. I find if you have if you have really bad back problems, go to a physio, go to a chiropractor, go to a professional that can sort you out. But if you're just feeling a little bit stiff, got like a little niggle or something, swimming has helped me so much, and it's a cardio that's good for you, because I feel like running is great, it's fun. Actually, that could be a whole actually I think I've done one on running already, but you never know, could do a refresh. But running is great, but it's not like, I always find my knee sometimes goes, things like that. It doesn't feel as good for your body, but swimming is great. So anyway, let's get back to the beginning, because obviously personally, I think swimming is a life skill that everyone should have. Whoever you are, wherever you live. Obviously, I'm very, very lucky to live by the seaside. So from a very young age, my parents are like, get this girl some swimming lessons, because you never know. Also, living in the countryside, we have a lot of lakes, we have a lot of rivers, ponds, bodies of water. I mean, at the moment in England, half of our field is pretty much underwater anyway. So being able to swim, I would say, is a life skill. So anyway, from a very young age, used to do something called baby swimming, which you're probably thinking, what is that? But apparently, yeah, I would have swimming lessons before I was even one. So what they would do is, it was, honestly, I'm trying to remember what this place was like, because I'm pretty sure it was upstairs somewhere, and it was like just like this little pool in this like building on the high street, and I'm telling you, it was, a little bit bigger than a hot tub probably. And as a baby, you would just, you'd go under the water, get used to bobbling about, that kind of thing. So there's not really too much to say, because I don't really remember it much. Although I do remember getting to play with the receptionist while my brother had baby swimming lessons, because at one stage my parents had 2 under 2, which do not envy. Oh my gosh, that sounds like a lot of hard work, because yeah, my brother and I, we are pretty much exactly almost 2 years apart, so that's great fun. Anyway, so I just remember my brother having baby swimming. I remember him having baby swimming lessons more than I do myself, and I would just play with the receptionist and probably cause chaos. Anyway, after that, then moved to another swimming lesson place, which I'm pretty sure was somebody that just had an indoor pool in their garden. Dad's nodding like, yep. And also don't really remember having swimming lessons there too much, because again, I was very, very young. But I do remember my brother having swimming lessons, because he was a little bit slower than me. I would definitely say I am the more sporty sibling, and him not so much. So he had to have swimming lessons for longer, because my parents obviously didn't want him to drown and wanted to make sure that he could swim. So he had them for what felt like many, many years. Anyway, but I do remember while my brother would have swimming lessons, I would play on my mum's phone. And actually, this is maybe showing my age, maybe showing my youth, depending on who is listening, because we have a real wide range of listeners on the podcast, and also on my channel in general, because we have some people who are younger than me and will probably listen to this and be like, oh my gosh, Esme, what do you mean you didn't really? Actually, no, I did grow up with smartphones being a thing, but they kind of became a thing when I was about 10, 11. So I was still a child when smartphones were a thing. But anyway, I'm talking back in the early 2000s. And I'm jumping all about in today's episode. And then I also have people who are my age or older, like one of my recent videos that I did, it was the Fossey DNA video. There was a comment, I actually pinned this because I thought it was so lovely. There was a lady saying how she is postpartum, so she's just had a baby. She's been watching this video, and I just thought that was so lovely. So anyway, shout out to you. So back to the pod. So yes, I remember I would play it with my mom's phone, and do you know what I used to play on her phone? She had a Nokia, not non-touch screen, the one where you have the numbers and you have to press a number 3 times to get a certain letter. That is how old school it was. And I would play Snake, but it was Snake 3. It was Snake 3. Radzi and I, Radzi is, I met him at the RSPCA Young Photographer of the Year Awards. He was there presenting as well. And we for some reason, do you ever just like meet somebody and just end up going on the most random like conversation? Anyway, we were talking about Snake, and he was saying how I was so much younger than him because I used to play Snake 3. And he used to play the original Snake. So anyway, if you know the game Snake, you'll know basically you'll be a little snake and you go around and you have to eat an apple, and then your snake would get longer. And then at one stage, the snake would be so long that you would accidentally eat yourself, and then that would be game over. But it was a fun little game. I remember playing Snake on my mum's phone when my brother would have swimming lessons. And then we moved to another swimming lesson place, which was an actual... Actually, it was at a local private school that had like incredible facilities, but obviously to earn a bit of extra cash, they would get kids coming in after school and would do swimming lessons there. So it was quite funny because you'd had like the bottom end of the pool that had all the kids in. So obviously my brother was there having his swimming lessons, learning how to survive in the water, and then the other side of the pool had all the lanes. So for a little while my brother was having his swimming lessons, instead of just me sitting on the side being bored, or probably actually on my pink Nintendo DS Lite playing Nintendogs or something like that, my mum was like, oh, you can have a swimming lesson at the same time. You can go in the elite swimming group. So anyway, don't want to, toot my own horn too much, but they actually at one stage asked me if I wanted to go on Saturdays as well and do competitions and all that kind of stuff, and I was like, nah, don't be wanting to do that. One thing especially as I'd rather be riding horses, but one thing that I will say though, which is like a little funny story, that I had a friend called Emily, don't know where she is, don't know what she's doing now, but we would do swimming together in this pool, and we would do the lane swimming. And to be fair, I was, they would teach you how to do all the fancy stuff like butterfly, backstroke. They taught us how to do the thing where under the water you do like a little flip and then push yourself back off. One thing I haven't actually ever done, I would say, obviously I did all that, but I was not a swimming cap girl. I would say I wasn't an official like swimmer, like there's different levels of swimming. I was never a swimmer because I never did competitions and I never wore a swimming cap. So there we go. The only time I did wear a swimming cap though is when I did the Marvel superhero triathlon for the RDA, or with the RDA, and I did wear one then. I'm pretty sure you had to, but I did also wear a wetsuit because it was in a lake that was very cold. Talking about cold, anyway, going back. My friend Emily and I, we would do this lane swimming together, and they had these swimming lessons. And every lesson, she 5 minutes in, she would get up and go to the toilet, and I always thought, girl, go before you get in the pool. Why are you doing this anyway? One day I was like, why do you always go to the toilet like halfway through the lesson? Do you want to get out of the lesson or something? And she said to me, no, Esme, this is what you got to do. So there is going to be some people that are going to listen to this who can be like, this is really smart, or there's going to be some people and they were like, this is really weird. And you know what? I started doing it with her as well, because what she would do is you'd get in the pool, swim around for a bit, and then when you get out, you would get a little bit cold. You wouldn't be in the water, you wouldn't be moving. So when you got back in the pool felt warmer. I don't know if this is a life hack or not. But anyway, so we would do that sometimes. And I remember our swimming coach getting a little bit annoyed with us. Also, I remember being so excited, like feeling like one of the big girls, when I got to do, the starting like dive off it's not like a dive, is it a dive board? Like it's a little platform and you would like dive in. Oh my gosh. When I got taught how to do that and taught how to do the underwater turning around U-turn, pushing off the side thing, that's when I felt like, oh yeah, I know I am not just I can't just swim, but I am a swimmer. Anyway, so that was good fun. But yeah, never did anything super competitive. I can imagine how, not gonna lie, like I'm the sort of person where when I was a kid, when I used to like swimming, and that's why I kind of didn't really keep up with the lane swimming lessons, because I was like, this is kind of boring. I'm the sort of person where when I was a kid and I was swimming in the pool, I wanted to play mermaids. I wanted to pretend I was a Pokemon. I wanted to just jump off and do cannonballs, that kind of thing. That is fun swimming for me. But the idea of, or just like, you know, going under the water, seeing how long I could hold my breath for, have a little look around with, I was a goggles girl. You know what? If it was still so, you know what? Actually, I actually, well, now I am older and now I have slightly longer hair than I did as a child. I don't put my head under the water when I swim unless it's hair wash day. I want to protect my hair. It's not very good with the chlorine and the blonde hair and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, if I'm having a day where I'm going under the water, you best believe I'm putting, normally it would actually be in the sea and I'd have my mask on. I want to look at all the fishes. I want to, you know, go snorkeling, do that kind of thing. But obviously don't swim in the sea very often because over here in England, it is freezing. And also if you listen to the episode, which is titled Weird Dog Walking Destination, I'm pretty sure it's something along those lines, you will know about Pooh Castle and you will know why. It's probably not very good in our local area to put your head under the water in the sea. Anyway, I'll leave that at that. But yes, swimming under the water, you know, I just wanted to play in the water. I wanted to splash. So our local pool would do this thing, not the one where we would have swimming lessons at the fancy private school, but it was our local kind of like freedom leisure kind of place. They would do at half term something called floatorama, and they would have these big floats that would go out, and we would always play a game where we would like push each other off the floats and fight over the floats, which we probably did get told off by the lifeguard quite a lot for. You're not really supposed to push each other off, but it was great fun. Also, I was never that kid. Just want to hold my hands up now. I never bit the floats, okay? The foam floats, I never bit them. I know it's tempting, but even as a kid, I was like, that's kind of gross. But if you were a kid that bit the floats, shame on you, because there was always a chunk taken out of those floats. There was always at least one bite or teeth mark. So anyway, to be fair, I probably caused a lot of scratches on them, and I like dig my nails in to push myself up and over. I also remember the first time where I got to swim in the deep end at my local pool. Oh my goodness, incredible. Anyway, next up, so obviously, yeah, they would have the floats, they would have, also there was a water slide as well. Looking back, it probably wasn't like a very steep water slide, but when you're about 6 or 7, that feels like the fastest water slide ever. Oh my goodness. So we'd always go when the water slide was on. Do you know what I would do when I was older to make the slide more fun? Which, do not do this, because this is a safety risk, and I do not want anyone doing this and drowning and blaming me and suing me. So do not do this, do not sue me. Okay, I think I'm covered. But what I would do is I would go down the slide, because the first bit of the slide, it would be in the dark. And actually, I'm not going to lie, slides that don't have the top bit on them do freak me out mildly, because I feel like I'm going to slide up off over the edge, especially if we're going super quick. But anyway, it had a kind of, you'd be in the dark in a tube. So what I would do is in the tube, I would turn around and I would go down the slide backwards, because it just seemed a lot more fun, especially in the dark as well. You didn't know which direction you were going next. You couldn't see what was coming up. So that would be quite fun. There was also a hot tub that they had at our local pool, but the hot tub wasn't really very hot. So what we would do is, especially when we were kids and we would all go in a group together, we would do this thing where we would make a whirlpool. I don't know if people still do that nowadays, or kids still do that nowadays, but we'd all start running around this like little hot tub thing in a circle and try and go as fast as we could and make a whirlpool. And then suddenly you'd lift your legs up and the current would kind of like take you around in a circle, and that was very fun. We used to do that as well. But anyway, next up, I'm going to be talking to you about a different pool that we have, which actually, so sad. Local pool near the sea was going to close down. And you know what? I was infuriated by this when I found out that they were closing this pool for 2 different reasons. Number one, it is an epic pool. It is amazing. It is brilliant because they have a wave machine. So this was like we're not just swimming at the local pool, kids. We're going to the wave machine pool. They would do like wave discos as well in the evenings as well for kids. Oh my gosh, so much fun. Anyway, and they had a big slide, let me tell you. And the deep end was super, super deep. Obviously, wave machine. But I found out that they were closing that pool. I don't think they are anymore, but I was infuriated because I was like, this is a pool by the sea that is the only pool available to children in a seaside town to learn how to swim, and you're closing it. That is so dangerous, because the future of children in that seaside town aren't going to be able to learn how to swim, and, you know, living right near the sea, it's a life skill that you need. Anyway, it's not closing down anymore, which is brilliant. But at this pool, so there are two different sections. The wave machine pool, which, love a wave machine, so much fun. What we would do is we'd do this thing where we would hold on to the side, and then the wave would come and it would pick you up, and you'd like bob up and then down, and then as the wave would push you up, we would try and like jump onto the side. Great fun. Anyway, I'm just remembering all the like fun things I used to do as a kid. Anyway, what was amazing was at this pool, there was also so that was like the kids section, and then they had the adult section where they had all the lane swimming. And one thing about lane swimming is I feel like whatever lane you go in, you never feel like you're in the right lane, because there's the kind of like lane where there's loads of old people going really slowly. There's probably someone going the wrong way round, like in the slow lane kind of area. No, get me out of there. It's just chaos. Anyway, middle lane, that's probably where I say I would be. There's some people that, you know, they don't want to go in the slow lane because they don't want to label themselves as slow, but they probably belong in the slow lane, but they go in the middle lane because they don't want to seem like a loser. So then you have to still overtake those guys. But then there's the fast lane. Now, these are the sort of people that are like training for an Ironman, training for like a triathlon, competitively swim regularly, all that kind of stuff. Swim regularly, competitively. There we go. All that kind of stuff. Now, in that lane, nah. I can't be going in that one, or I'm going to get run over. I'm going to get pummeled. Something's going to happen. It's not going to be good. So I feel like whatever lane you go in, there's never a lane that you fit. You know, we need a few more sections. We need the like lane that isn't labelled slow, but for the slow people to go in so they don't think that they're slow. Do you know what I mean? And then there's also the lane where it's like, I'm not, you know, I can swim very well. I can swim fast, but I'm not a psycho either. So we need some extra lanes, guys. This is my petition. Anyway, as well as having the lane swimming, do you know what they also had there? The diving boards. Now, look, this is where we get to the bad story. I've got some trauma at these diving boards. So there were three different diving boards. There was the springboard. That was quite fun. There were a few times where I accidentally jumped at the wrong time and the springboard came back up and slapped my feet. If you've ever had that before, painful. Not great. But that was quite fun if you wanted to do like a little flip off it. Then you had the next one up, which was, you know, this was decently high. You know, you still, you know, you get to the edge and be like ooh, this is, you know, quite high up to jump off. And then you had the top diving board. Now, if you couldn't tell already by my personality, I was jumping off the top diving board from a young age. As soon as I was old enough to and tall enough to, I was jumping off the top. I was going for it. Now, this is where we come to a really bad story. So, let me set the scene. Because this is quite a big swimming pool and it's a little bit further away for us, it was more of like a special occasion. So, it was one half term. It was my mum, my brother, load of my brother's friends, load of my brother's friends' parents as well. And we all thought, let's go to the diving boards. Let's go and have some fun doing that. So obviously all of my brother's friends were jumping off, doing a little cannonball, that kind of thing. Now, I was probably about secondary school age at this point. So your girl was going through puberty, so she was already feeling a little bit weird wearing a swimming costume, all that kind of stuff. You know, if you've been there, you've been there. So anyway, I jump off this diving board and I go into the water. Now, what I didn't realise is that this swimming costume had a little bit of a wardrobe malfunction. I realised that I went so fast into the water that my swimming costume came off. It was dangling by my ankles. Not good. Not a good look. Especially with all of my brother's friends there. I was like, I can't pop up out of the water while they're all there. That is going to be the most mortifying thing that's ever happened in my life. So, what did I do? Because obviously, where there's diving boards for safety reasons. It is a very, very deep pool. So I was literally slowly sinking to the bottom of this pool, quickly trying to put, my swimming costume back on, making sure that I didn't have a nip slip. Everything was where it should be. And apparently my mum said that the lifeguard literally jumped out of his chair, was about to jump and dive into the water to save me, because they thought that I was drowning, and that's why I didn't come back up to the water, because obviously I was under there for so long trying to make sure everything was where it should be. And yeah, there was this lifeguard that was absolutely freaking out, being like, oh my gosh, this 13-year-old kid is under the water for way too long. So anyway, when I popped my head out, everyone was very relieved, including myself, because I now didn't have I now didn't have my private parts on display. So anyway, we'll probably wrap up the podcast on that note there. But yes, they are my swimming stories, swimming disasters. Obviously didn't traumatize me too much, because I still love swimming. I haven't been to that diving board in long years. I have been and done it since. Made sure I had a tightly secured swimming costume though. But anyway, so on that note, I'm going to finish off today's podcast there. Just want to say a huge thank you to Red Post for sponsoring the podcast. Go and check them out at redpostequestrian.co.uk, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.
This Friday,
I love him. Whatever our souls are made of, his and mine are the same.
experience the greatest love story of all time.
Why did you leave me?
Why did you betray your own heart?
A film by Emerald Fennell,
Heathcliff.
Kathy,
Margot Robbie, Jacob Elordi.
kiss me and let us both be damned.
Wuthering Heights. Original songs by Charlie XCX. Only in theaters Friday. Experience it in IMAX. Rated R. Under 17. Not admitted without parent.
Kraft Mac and Cheese is better than 90s hip-hop. We'll remind you of your childhood without making you feel incredibly old. Kraft Mac and Cheese. Best thing ever.